Calling all retro gamers.
Calling all retro gamers!
Calling all retro gamers!
Calling all retro gamers!
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Calling All Retro Gamers, your semi-weekly, sometimes just random day podcast where we talk about all sorts of cool stuff. I'm Rich, and then we're this way. We got Ed, RetroKillDashNine. What's going on, man?
Hey, we're finally here.
Yes. Yeah, it was we were planning on doing some things for the holiday week, and we were trying to target yesterday, and then some things wound up happening, and then we're like, no, we can't. I can't.
Yeah.
So I hit abort. It was me. It was my fault. Abort. And then, but here we are. We're in.
It's no worries. We try to communicate. Yeah, pay attention. Yeah, I'm glad we talked about like an Evercast. Pay attention to the community tab now that we actually have that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's good of them to start hooking up little small channels like our little side gig here, so we can talk to you guys, which is neat.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool.
You know what happens? It's like, you were just sent on a quest. Things happen. You weren't able to complete the dungeon in time. You're like, there's no way. I'm stuck on this side quest.
Locked in there. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. But let's say hi to everyone. You got Lloyd R. Jim in here. What's going on? You got Fan of Fiction. How's it going? Brian F. How's it going? Christopher Westerman. What's going on? And Ian Hobbies. What's up?
Right.
What's going on? Look, it's the crew. They're already here. They're ready to show up. They're ready to talk some retro goodness. We do have some.
I know.
About that. Yeah,
I know.
About that.
That's why we're talking about it here. You know what? Because I felt like today during Evercast we talked about it too much. I was just like, hey, I wasn't going to say anything. We're just going to tease it, put it right there.
Oh well, that's the intrepid chat. Like someone was going to pick it up.
Yeah.
I actually got psyched out. I didn't even really notice it until somebody said something, and I'm like, it's got to be in frame. And then I looked at your frame, I'm like, oh, of course, it's sitting right there.
That's like,
that was good.
Well, I knew people would be a double take, like, wait a second, did he get his limited edition XP? But it's kind of big.
Yeah, right. It's a little bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about that. I had a little interesting thing happen. It was earlier in the day yesterday that it just kind of surprised me. So I'm going to tell a little story and give a little field report for some of the things going on in Black Friday, and then we'll have some chat with you guys, have some questions, a little Q&A, that kind of thing. So if you guys have topics while we're heading on our adventure tonight, just throw them out in the chat, ask them some stuff, and we'll get to that after we do the story times. But first, I guess we just got to jump right in it. You got yourself a Steam Deck, so we got to talk.
So what do I have it? Okay. So let's go. It's Ed story time.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's go back in time to when I first heard about the Steam Deck, because keep in mind that this was like I knocked it. Like I was like, you're not going to get good battery life. The controls are weird. Why is everything out there? I was like, this isn't going to work. This is if anything, I admit, like, I thought it was dumb, right? Like to be honest, when it first came out, I really didn't know, and so that kind of went on the back burner. And so I'm somebody who I do watch like ETA Prime, Retro Corps, like Handheld Dodo or whatever. Like they look at like a lot of like various handheld devices. Because I always like to compare the Evercade. I kind of like to see where the market's at. And to be honest, sometimes I like reassurance. Like, oh, I'm glad I got into Evercade. I'm glad it's standard. Because with that market's nuts. Like something you buy today, like tomorrow, it's it could be obsolete, or like they always seem to make a mistake. So I like to pay attention to that. And of course, you have your normal consoles like your PS5, your Xbox, your Switch, and all that. So right now, I do have a PS4, but so just wanted to put that on the on the back burner. Like, yeah, I did knock that device. And of course, then you have like the analog pocket, And when that did come out, like I was like FOMO. I was like, oh man, I should have ordered it. Like and all that. So you kind of have all those things, and then I'll even throw the Poly Mega in that category. So those are like all the and then of course you have good old fashioned retro, like hey, let's buy a Super Nintendo or a Genesis, or even like something like a Retron 5 or whatever, which makes it easier, but it has the same problem that you have to have the physical cartridges, kind of like with which can be good or bad depending on your collection. And then of course, like that big monster behind you, then you have like the Legends Ultimate, you have your arcade 1-ups, you have your iArcade. I won't put a real arcade machine in there because like price is not are finicky. But basically, like, a lot of these things that have in common, they're around like let's say they're around the 400 or 500. Something where I just can't like snap my fingers. But yeah, let's just say from family members. That's why I said like, yeah, it's this Christmas. It's my next birthday. It's probably all the presents.
Oh yeah, no, that's a big ticket one. Yeah,
because I'll tell you the model that I So it's kind of like it's a big decision on what you want to get, but at the same time, you also don't want to get something that replaces the Evercade, because then it's like, well, why do I have Evercade? So I think that's important.
Yeah, for sure.
So as time evolved, watch kind of like saw like different things that you all got. What I mean by you all, like you, Pete and Crow, like kind of the different devices that you guys have gotten, what other YouTubers have or something else. But the difference though, like, is that, some, obviously like someone like ETA Prime or RetroKillDashNine, you can't go by that because their channel is solely getting stuff, unboxing it.
Right.
Someone like you, Pete and Crows, kind of like you guys, you're going to get this stuff because you're going to, like you collect it and between the three of you, like collect it and use it. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to get this is just for my channel and then I'm going to sell it or do,
Everything has a utility, especially now at the house.
Yes.
Everything has a utility. So if I bring something in the house, it's because I have a reason to use it. And it's, it's hyper specific, because I mean, I even have like all the little things that I have in my house right now. Like even that is still kind of like starting to intrude upon me. Like, and everything is starting to like just close in. So I gotta like, I even have to purge some of the little stuff that I have around me.
That poor penguin.
Yeah, he's getting buried. There's a little stuffed animal dog there. Something's on top of him too. Like it's just it's crazy.
Oh, and another thing I'll throw into that category too is like, let's say getting just like a Game Boy or like a Game Gear, and getting it like totally like modded, like getting it like totally modded out, whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of envious of Pete on his fully modded Game Gear. Like it's pretty cool. I must admit.
Not to go on a side topic, but Macho Nacho Productions, who does like a lot of mods or whatever, he teased because he refurbished a Game Gear, and he teased that his next video, actually, which comes out on Thursday, but I'm guessing something because of the holidays, was like a some type of TV out mod for a Game Gear.
Oh, nice.
So it's not a bad idea. Wait, something to wait, because especially if you're wanting to like capture footage or whatever.
Well, I mean, if you're me and you want to play Axe Battler, you actually want it to work. You could buy an Amber and you could play it, but you can't capture footage, because in order to play it properly, you have to put the custom OS, which just denies you HDMI out, and it's like, well, then why did I even get this thing? So yeah, it's wild.
Actually, I did a survey of that on our poll on our channel. Okay, so here's the first important question that I want to say, like in the gaming space, you have to ask yourself, and that is, do I really need to play on original hardware and have original cartridges? And I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you why that's important, because so amongst getting consoles, I thought, well, so it's like, do you really have to, especially because they're expensive. We don't like live in Japan where for like $100 you can like, you could find like a Super Nintendo marked as junk that probably works, and like a bunch of common games. So, so that's the first question. And why don't I bring that up? And that's why I say, like, if I use you, Pete and Crow is kind of like the standard or whatever, because you all have different collecting habits and different reasons for getting devices. So, So if you're going to go that route, so then let's say, because like you have a Retron and you're going to get a Poly Mega. So like at this point, like I'm not even like, let's, an original hardware, do I need to play an original hardware? The question was no. But then I'm like, do you have to have the original carts? Because the problem with that, so because you could get something like a Retron, right? which they're relatively inexpensive. But then so of course, and kind of like the same thing as then you're limited to, you can only play retro games. You can only play the back catalog. You can't play indie games. If there's like some, let's say like a cool AAA game that you wanted to play, like that you could like on a Switch, or you're locked into that. But the other huge barrier is it's the games that are expensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
because because then it's like, well, if you're going like if you're gonna hack something like a Retron, that's pointless. You might as well use like a Raspberry Pi or something. If you're gonna get a Polymega, just if you can get one, Pete's the only one I know that has it, other than like the Metal Jesuses that were sent one like early.
Well, I mean, and mine was ordered a year and 3 months ago.
Yes,
and I'm still waiting. Yeah, so yeah, it's it eventually one will show up at my door. I was, I actually contacted Play Magi, and they sent me an email, said, yeah, we're working on it, and you're gonna get it eventually. And I'm like, okay, well, eventually is good enough, I guess.
Right.
As long as I get it.
So he did do a video game. After I explain all this, I'll have to look at that. So
nice.
So it's kind of like, so then it's like, if you were, let's say then if I were to get my hands on like a Polymega and all that, well, then it's like, well, I don't, and that's why Pete is the perfect person to have a Polymega, and maybe Crow, because he has like an extensive collection of like of cars. So for him, it's perfect because let's say with a couple modules, you're only looking, let's say between $500-$600, and you wouldn't have to spend any more money. Like you would have enough games, and it makes sense because I'm sure at that point, like he's probably like, when you have like a big physical collection, he probably has like the Netflix syndrome. Like, what do I play? Well, it's cool if there was a device you could put all your games on and you could see everything. And you know what I mean? You can see related games that you never knew about. So you kind of get, so like for him, it makes perfect sense. If I were to get that, I don't really have, I mainly have GBA games, and then, things are expensive. So, and then to your point, then I would be waiting on it. So that kind of, it's like, well, it would be cool to have. For me, it's not practical.
Right.
So that rules that out, and then that rules. So I'm like, no, I don't have to have physical media. Then the other thing is that like, do you really have to have FPGA? Which is it's always funny because I think some people like, for all intents and purposes, they have the equivalent of FPGA, like it's the real hardware. Well, technically it's not. It's hardware emulation, but people say it's the closest. But how could you not say software emulation? Like I think Pete said it well, like an Evercast. You know what? Like remember like the old Coke and Pepsi test where they have you drink which one and then see which. And I only bring that up because of the Netflix documentary about the kid who tried to get the jet. But anyways, they did that test. If I had the means, I would love to do that. Like go around, have like a CRT with an FPGA, have a like a Mister, have it with like a Pi, and have like some original hardware.
Okay.
And I bet I bet it would be difficult to tell the difference. You know what I mean? Like that's you would really have to be somebody who kind of has those things and hold them side by side. So
right.
So I'm like the only reason why I ever cared about some type of FGB was for the reasons like you said, you couldn't play Axe badly. It's for compatibility because compared to some of those other devices that have higher compatibility, but the Retron is what it is. It's not something that's actively updated like an Evercade or other device. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're pretty much stuck with what yeah, exactly. So, and the reason I bring that up was because, again, going back to the Analog Pocket, like when I first I never had FOMO, like, oh my God. And then it was interesting. And again, that's what I say, Pete is like the perfect test subject because he had a bunch of games and then he actually made a video saying I hate this device. But so here's what's interesting about that. Before is that if you wanted a modern Game Boy, but you didn't want to, go through spending the money or sourcing it to play your existing carts, that's what it was initially designed for, right?
Right.
And then maybe you can have your Game Gear. But now that it's jailbroken, then it's kind of like, what's the point?
Right.
You know what I mean? And to me, I kind of see that it'd be no different than having like a jailbroken Evercade, and now you're kind of defeating the purpose, and you don't have the coolness, and you don't have like the good quality meal. You know what I mean? So I'm like, really at that point, if you have that, then that's you basically what you have is kind of one of those handheld devices that can play ROMs and physical carts. But if you don't have a physical cart collection, then I'm like, but that's all you can do. So then it kind of suffers the same fate of having a Polymega, except you can't play. You know what I mean? But like it lessens the amount of stuff. So it's kind of like you have to ask yourself, what do you want to play? And I'm like, no, I would like it's the same thing. Like I would love to have a Game Boy with a better screen, but I've realized if I'm going to do that, because I saw a video with a drop, and that might be something that I'm just going to get the stuff on the cheap and mod myself like that, because otherwise you're paying a hell lot in labor. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Like the main thing that's expensive is like a screen for $60, but if you could get a broken Game Boy, you could probably do the whole thing for under $100, which is a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And it would make more fun. But you know, so then let's say if you rule that out, then it kind of comes down to, you know, like a Switch, an Xbox, a PS5, because those are the three, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I have a PS4. I don't really need a PS5 because, you know, there's not many games, you know. Well,
Right.
Xbox would be cool for the library. And I'll even throw like VCS in there, but I'm like, yeah, that's not, you know, that's kind of like in between. But so the thing that turns me off, you know, so looking at things like for the Switch is, you know, because it's Nintendo, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, you know, the 3DS store has gone away, and kind of even the same thing with Sony. At some point, the PS3 and 4 stores are going to go away.
Yeah, I mean, well, but then you hope that there is some kind of parity where Sony, Microsoft, whoever is going to, you know, be good stewards and make sure that you can actually access that stuff.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
We've seen examples the other way, which is not great.
Yeah.
Where that doesn't happen so much, you know, from Sony and even Nintendo. But
yes,
yeah, I mean, it's a, you know, it's definitely a thing for sure.
Because I asked myself, like, what prevents me maybe from getting more games on the PS4, like digitally at least? And that's because, well, for that, you know, kind of for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then because things like that don't go on sale as much, you can't, you know, you're tied to it. So if you spend like $50, you know, like chances are that $50 game is never going to go down to like $20 or even $10, which is, you know, which on something like Steam is very, you know, is very possible after a couple of, so you're kind of locked into it. And then, so then I thought to myself, if I get a new, like, do I really need to have physical media? And then I'm like, no, I don't. And so here's why I say it doesn't replace the Evercade, which is like, so the Evercade, you know, especially for, you know, space constraints, like Evercade checks everything, like it doesn't take up a lot of space, even though I'm kind of sort of, you know, I'm gonna have to do something back there. They're $20 a pop, you know, they're $20 a pop.
Right.
So the great thing on Evercade is that it still satisfies, hey, that's you know, I'm like, that's still worth, that's, you know, I've decided, because, you know, trying to not babbling on, there were some points where, you know, like I think like everybody decides, do I want, you know, is there that Super Nintendo game or that Genesis game that's physical media that's never going to come to Evercade?
Right.
I would like that, but I'm like, but then because for all those reasons and price, I'm like, but I don't need a physical, you know, I really don't need a physical copy if I want to, let's say if I really wanted to play that game. So Evercade still satisfies the discovery, getting the physical media and all those other things, you know, at an affordable price. So I'm like, because that's like the one thing that, you know, kind of like we'll get every single cart no matter what. We like to collect it. So that solves with the physical media. Then I'm like, well, I have physical media on that. I don't need it for everything.
Right. And
so then I get down to, you know, because Nintendo is Nintendo and all that stuff. I'm like, you know, again, you know, that also has physical media, but I'm like, I don't want to get sucked into that, you know, kind of get sucked into that trap. And then same, you know, Xbox, PS5, kind of that same, I don't want to get what I have. So I've watched a ton, you know, research, watch a lot of videos, you know, like Gaming on Linux and a few other people that post updates. And, you know, like when SteamOS had come out, yeah, there were lots of fixes and all that. So, and it's come a long way, but so you get over the physical media. I still have games like that I bought off the Steam store 10, 15 years ago. Like that's not going anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was going to say, do I dare say if there was like a Mario or Zelda exclusive that I really didn't want to play, it'll run better on the Steam Deck than the Switch itself. Sorry, Nintendo. You know, if there was like that exclusive that I had. Oh, and so kind of the differentiator of why like I didn't want to, let's say, get an arcade cabinet other than space and all that. I did want something portable that like I could play on the couch, that I could hang out with family, and you can't really, you know, wife isn't going to let me have that in the living room, which would be awesome. But you know,
right.
So that kind of checked that off. Plus, if I'm being honest, if I was, you know, the price point and like the IA arcades, like the lower end ones, those were $400. I like if I was going to get one, I like their second gen ones, like the Space Invaders cab. And even though that might not be the original art, it looks like that just like screams nostalgia. So I'm like, at some point, I would rather wait until I have the means if I was going to get that, because that new style is just, you know, it's just awesome. If I was going to go that, but then again, something like that, you're only locked into still arcade games, even though they have newer games. So for me, so I've been following Steam, and so the great thing is Valve, you know, they actually kind of remind me of Blaze, like what Nintendo should be, what Blaze, like Like, people like like they wanted customized start screen, the startup screens, and they found a way to do it, and then they built it into the OS. If you want to load emulators, you can do it. If you want to load stuff to play your games from like Epic and Amazon, you can do it. They made it completely open.
Right.
They're kind of like, what, the opposite of Amazon, like device, like they're not locked down. It's like, hey, we'd like you to buy our games. We make it incredibly easy, to buy our games and load them up. But if you want to, go somewhere else, you can.
Right.
Like I'm guessing that probably, I'm thinking that like the low end model that's $400. I'm thinking it probably costs Valve $350 to make. That's I'm thinking that
they're razor thin margins on those things.
Yeah.
I mean there is some quality tech in that thing. It's not like they just threw some stuff in a box and just sent it to you, because a lot of the reviews that I've seen on it is very impressive.
Yes.
And for me, when I'm looking at that, it's like kind of like the tech investor in me looks at something like those three models, and I'm like, well, I'm just gonna wait until I can afford the higher end model, so I can get that faster RAM, so I can get the better performance, because that unit will last me longer than like the base unit, which is the reason I have not gotten one yet, because it's so prohibitively expensive for me right now.
Well, you don't need.
It's not even a thing.
But I'll get into that. Actually, you don't need to, because you can up if you really want to, you can upgrade that one.
That's true.
And I'll tell I'm like, I'm not your tech guy. No, and I'll tell you really the difference, the differences and whatnot. So for me, I researched, I watched, like Valve listens to people, and people complain about like the whole thing with external monitors. Like, they made updates, so they remind me, like, like I said, what Nintendo should have been. They actually listen to their customer base, like Blaze does, and they make changes and updates, like, like constantly, which is great. And then the other thing too, that was like, I have like 400 games, I have a big, I still have a big library of games.
Yeah.
Steam stuff always goes on sale, like super cheap. Like if you don't have to buy something day one, sometimes you can just wait like a month and things will be half the price. They're really the only system where you can get Steam keys and things a lot cheaper than anything else. So that was kind of the fact. So I kind of got over, hey, I don't have to have physical media. Plus for me, if anyone noticed, hence, that's like the Red Hat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Red Hat logo. You actually got that like at work like years ago, like going through the Red Hat trend. So which is that's the other thing too. Like it's based off Linux. I am, even though we sadly don't see it as much because everything is virtualized. I am a Linux guy, so that's like, I think it's totally cool that that's the back end of the of the OS. Yep. And I kind of saw how it works, like with Proton and one. So here's how I kind of looked at it, which is kind of neat. So something, let's say like the Switch, like you're locked into whatever battery life, you're locked into whatever, but like but that's for people like if you really don't want to tinker at all, And again, that's what's great about the Evercade. If I don't want to mess around with stuff, I can just pop in a cart. But then again, I'll say on that, like once you get stuff, some games you don't have to do anything to, and I'll talk about that. But the one thing that you can change, you can decide, hey, this game. This game runs at 60 frames a second. Can I bump it down to 40 or 45? And you can adjust, and you can maybe get yourself like an extra hour or two, and the game still looks and plays the same.
Right.
Which is kind of funny. So I like how you can tweak things a little bit, but you don't have to. You could leave everything like at 60 and just go full. Which really around your house you don't have to as much. The only and this is like, if I like a minor nitpick is like the cord is that's fixed to the charger because it's like a 65 or 100 watt charger. It's it's not totally short, but it's not as long as your normal charger. But that's kind of a minor. That's kind of a minor nitpick. So for me, it was kind of like the perfect device because I've realized like, what do I want this? Well, Evercade covers a lot of the weird and and other stuff. But like when I played like Cathedral, like that, like that's typically something you would find like on Steam. And so but to me that was like mind blowing, and I'm like, I want more of that. You know what I mean? Like because there's other games like that will indie games, if you will, things like that, like Vampire Survivors and stuff that that will never go to it. There's like early access stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And if for some reason, like if they're like, let's say if I did want to play something like Cyberpunk or like the latest Final Fantasy, because that's the other thing. There really aren't many for Microsoft and Sony. There really aren't any exclusives. Anything that goes to Microsoft is going to go to Windows.
Sure.
And then anything that goes,
even Sony's putting their titles,
yes,
first party titles eventually.
Yeah, exactly. They started doing
anyway.
they started doing that. So if I wanted to play like the latest and greatest Final Fantasy because of the power of the Steam Deck, like I could do that.
Right.
If I wanted to. So for me, having the back collection, having everything digital, and then from the review, like you said, following the reviews, people saying that it is of quality, and then once they hit 1 million units, I was like, okay, this isn't just some fad.
Right.
And then the other big thing is when they started to open the markets to Asia and Japan, because like the handheld market over there is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And PC gaming is, and so I'm like, wow. So that kind of opened my eyes to some things. So for me, I was like, okay, it's something that I can tinker with a little bit, could go crazy. But of course, because it can run emulation. So here's kind of the promise that I made with myself. Obviously, like Evercade is going to be my main source of that.
Mm-hmm.
And unless it's something like, let's say if I really have a hankering to play like Super Mario Brothers 3, like that would like never go to it, then maybe I could load it up.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not just going to take like every like SNES ROM and dump it in a directory.
Right.
Because that's, if I do want to dabble and play something like Super Mario Brothers 3, because with EmuDeck, you can have each ROM loaded as a separate game and show up as a separate game.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And you can have download the cover art and everything. So you could sort and create a separate section called emulation. So if there's a game that I have a hankering of that isn't going to go to Evercade, I'm not just going to dump, like I'm going to dump it as needed. Or let's say if there's like a PS2 or like a PS3, or one of those games like Dreamcast, something like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 that
Sure.
you can't even buy that in the Steam store. You can buy 3, but I don't want, something like that Arcade 1-Up has the lock on that you can't even buy. Like that would be something to emulate, and it would emulate it very well. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. No, I can see how that would work.
If it's something that I have a hankering for, that I'm not, but I'm not just going to download every. But if I know like an Evercade card's going to come out, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do it. So I'm like, yeah. So that's how I'm not going to get overloaded with emulation if it's something. But again, like something like today, like Pac-Man or whatever. Yeah, like from the Steam store. Actually, it's like Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and Galaga. I'm like, I gotta have those again. That was like $1.99. Like the normal like $8. And like Miss Pac-Man was $1. So it's like if I can buy stuff like that, I'll just do it.
Sure.
So after watching everything, knowing that Valve isn't gonna abandon, I got a lot of positive feedback. And actually, I think it was Retro Crisis. Somebody said he kind of struggled and said, well, I do make videos on other handheld devices, but this one can kind of do everything. And so that was the other thing too. If you want something, could play modern games, could play retro games, could play emulation all in one spot. Oh, and you can dock it. And you can also capture footage directly from, So like let me talk about. So yeah, those were the reasons why I wanted something that was portable, that I could play the type of games that don't go to Evercade. I don't care about having a physical collection. Not that I, buy everything retail from Steam, but I know they're still going to be there unless Valve goes under, which I'm pretty confident that they're not, because they also have.
I don't think they're going anywhere.
Yeah, they also have the big PC market. Plus, I can play other stuff. So that was kind of the thing. So let's talk about the barrier to entry, and then I'll kind of talk about what I got. So from watching videos, so the main thing is, so the base unit, that's $400. You do get that NVMe that's built in, which is 64 gigs. And I'll say that, like, right with like installing like a few of the Proton packs, like I have like 31 gigabytes left on it. So you're not going to install any games on that card. That card is like literally for the OS, for updates, or anything else. And the videos that I watched, like when they did tests with like the SSDs, as long as you get at least like A2s, which are faster, like as long as you get something like, like a more premium SSD, like the load time really wasn't that much of a difference.
Right.
So, the thing is, like, so it's like $400 for that. Oh, the $400 model is back in stock, by the way, because like 2 days after I got it, they had a wait list again until like January, February. But
yeah, right now they've got a expected delivery date 1 to 2 weeks, but it's by now. All 3 models.
Yeah, I got on a Monday. When I was able to order it, and then I got it Friday. I think because the Halloween. I think otherwise I would have gotten it a few days later. And at least they don't charge you for shipping. It's just like the tax. So at least in US, so it's really like $430. Because they get $30 for the tax, but you don't get charged anything else for shipping. Which is, maybe they have some deal with FedEx. And also, where I was going with that is I saw a lot of videos where people are doing testing, and while it's convenient to have a bigger NVMe disk, as long as you get a decent SSD card, the loading time, it was actually only like a difference of seconds. Like it wasn't anything that big. I think the reason, and then when I saw where if you look, you can get a 512 for like 50 or $100 is, for me, it's like 100. So it's like 500. It's $130.
SD card?
No, for the NVMe.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So for the NVMe, so it's what's kind of gross is you're paying $100 because it's $530 for the 250. So it's like you're paying $130 for an NVMe drive that you could find. Yeah, you could find like if you look hard enough between $50 to $100 on maybe on sale like a 512 one that you install yourself for the NVMe.
Sure. And so is the port like readily accessible?
Yes.
Is it just you pop it off? It's just like an expansion port. You just plug it.
No, you have to unscrew it.
Yeah.
You just have to unscrew unscrew the back. It's not, but if you've anyone who's been inside a PC, it's not too difficult. It's just more nervous. Like the big thing is that you got to make sure it's off and you want to disconnect the battery.
Sure, of course.
But otherwise, once you get the back off, it's a screw and then a heat sink. It's really not too difficult. The main thing is that you just have to be careful what you set the Steam Deck down, like because it's going to be screened down.
Right. Yeah. So you want to make sure you have like, one of those, like the full desktop mouse pads or something like that.
Actually, I think it's maybe like $30. If somebody did like a 3D or they did a copy of like the one that Valve uses when they repair. So yeah, there's some investments in screwdriver, but I mean, if you wait a little bit, at some point, you probably could get it for $100 and do yourself. And that's still, so just for the 512, it's what I got was the Samsung, like the Samsung Pro Plus. And I was either going to get that or I was going to get SanDisk because those were like, but SanDisk was like really more, that was like $80. And it was just like, even on sale. And it was just the write and reads like weren't too much of a difference. But for this, it was like $55 on sale. And then if you wanted like the little reader with it, it was only like $3 extra. And it's for a 512 stick. And that you just pop in and format, because especially, so it's like if you're playing a lot of AAA games that take up like 100 gigs per install, then some of those people you may want to max it out and get a terabyte. But like even a terabyte, you can get those for like 115. So that's even
right now you want some Cyber Monday deal action live here. Amazon, Samsung, 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, $79.99.
Yeah, but the Steam Deck takes a certain kind though, which might even be
what's NVMe? Is it M2?
It is, but it's like the short. It's like the really short. Like it's almost like a square. It's a short.
Like like the drive itself has to be smaller.
Yes, yeah. Because the heat, there's like various YouTubers have like gotten them like a terabyte one to work, but like they said, like Valve says they don't support it because like the heat sink can't fit over that card properly, and for the overheating, like they recommended not.
Interesting.
Like you can Google, you'll see people have done like the 3 terabyte Steam Deck, which is nuts. It's like putting
3 terabyte.
Something like putting one of those in, and then putting in a terabyte SSD, and then you get like the JSOX dock or whatever that also has one of those full SSDs in it. I think that's kind of dumb though, because then you only have that collection, those games with you when it's docked. But anyways,
sure.
But the point is, I'm like, so here's the thing: I've never really seen an OLED screen or anything else. I don't notice any glare. So I think like the one that's 650, like because like the CPU memory, all that is the exact same. The only difference is you just get more space. And you get like that glare, glare resistant screen, and maybe you get a little bit better of a case. So in my opinion, like that's not worth it, And like if you have the money and you never want to touch or go inside the thing, that's what you're paying for. So for me, it was just like it was kind of like the choice between either you can get it or not get it. And let's just say like I've been of that, like for the 512, it more comes out to like 480 or 4. I think I still have like 458 gigabytes, because like I don't really see myself loading a lot of AAA games. And even if you did, you could still buy more SD cards.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and now I see what you mean about the specific one for the Steam Deck. Like it's like a little tiny, it's almost like an SSD.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, you'd be better, and if you did really want to upgrade that screen, it's like 100, you can later on. But I'm like, just to pay that money. I get, and that's why Valve has the 3 different things. They're charging you a premium where we're like, hey, we're going to get this and we're going to do it, and you won't have to touch it. But because that was my whole concern, I was like, well, so I can assure you, like SSD is fine. And I know it can use terabytes. I don't know if there's a larger one that's larger than a terabyte.
Yeah, well, and even they're on sale right now for the SD cards. They're on sale on Amazon. It was $100 for a terabyte.
So that's okay. So basically, and that's where the budget around was $500, and so so the decision was I could have gotten that, but I'm like, but again, probably by the time I need a terabyte card, they're gonna get cheaper,
right?
You know what I mean? But so what I really wanted was a dock, and like the Steam Deck one, again, that's $90. Yes, it comes with another AC adapter. Again, those are luxury things I'd like to have, but I didn't need it.
Sure.
And I was looking at hubs because initially I didn't even necessarily want a dock. I just wanted a hub where I could plug in, because you plug in the USB-C port, and then just like your phone, it can output to whatever if you have some type of hub.
Right.
And so it was a question, like, just for a hub itself, it was like $30 or $35. But and if I did ever want to do 4K, it could only do it like at 30 hertz.
Sure.
And that one is the IO Voller. And again, a tribute to RetroKorps. Like, he did a test on all of them, and basically like that, JSOX, like anything that can output at 60 hertz, like they're all the same. And the thing that's neat about that one is that the Ethernet port is right on the back of it instead of the side, and you still have your 3 USB 2.0 ports. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, well, for another $10, I can just get it. And it also acts as a stand.
Right.
So, and I tested it, like I plug it in and I can capture. And actually, that Xbox 360 third-party controller with license, like that, I just plugged it in, it worked. I didn't have to configure.
Oh yeah, no, those are easy now. Yeah.
So that was kind of the choice. Like, I could have gotten a terabyte drive, but I needed some type of dock. Otherwise, because I want to do both, right? Because you see videos where people do show it in a handheld mode, but you also do want to actually show like captured footage. Plus, if I want to do some more stuff like with the OS, it's easier to use a mouse and keyboard. So it's, so that's kind of what made the decision. And you could even have multiple SD cards. So that's kind of the, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So
for me, it kind of checked all those boxes. I wanted something portable. I could hook it up to my TV if I really wanted to. And so here's the other thing too, the other niche that I kind of needed to fill is that so the great part about Evercade and getting physical media is that is the anticipation. Yes, sometimes because of that we have to wait longer.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes in the middle, I'm like, well, because for me, I've talked about, unfortunately, I'm that gamer where, it's difficult for things to keep my attention, but luckily, Cathedral still has. So sometimes I feel like, okay, I blow through all, Evercade stuff. I get bored. I go back to earlier carts. I can play some limited stuff on my PC, but I don't really have a video card. And sometimes I just want to play other stuff, and do other things. And so that, and that kind of feel. Now, the one thing I will say that is nice, it is neat having a device where you can just play different games and you don't have to you can be lazy. Like today when I got up, like I don't know, once I start going back to work Monday, I may have to keep that here in the office, because this morning, I literally got out of bed and I didn't get out of bed for like over an hour. My Steam Deck was just right there. And I was just, and I was just playing stuff. So yeah. And then the other thing too, is I'm, wanting some of the device to do other content. And then now on this channel, I'm dying, because there are like those like cool early access or those indie games that maybe people don't know about as much. And I would really love to share. And see, that's the other thing too, is Evercade has really gotten me to really like, indie games. Like Cathedral gave me like a great taste of.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You got a great taste of that. And then I'll show some sites here in a moment, but especially like sometimes for like $5 or $2 or $1, you can get 5 or 6 games. If even one of those games are decent, it's worth your money. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's kind of the whole. So that's why I say it doesn't. It's not. Still obviously going to give Evercade itself. Still the same amount of love, because it serves a different purpose. It's still like something like, put it this way, something like Indie Heroes, right? Yes, maybe technically you could get all those games on the Steam Deck, but how would you even know about it? And now you have it in physical media. You have a booklet, and you have an easy thing that's $20 that you pop in. I'm still just as excited, for the EXP to have that. So they serve very different purposes. Now, one thing I will say, we did talk about the quality. So it does feel really good in your hand. It is a little bit heavier, because if you're like used to just an Evercade controller, but nothing that's like too heavy, right? But it is, but maybe that's kind of a good thing. It feels like it is the most premium. And just to compare it, you did the channel now, Ed. So the one thing to compare it to, because when last year we did go back to Kansas City to visit relatives. One of my cousins, their son, he had like a PS5. So for I got to touch that, and I will say that this did feel just as premium as like a PS5 controller, like the whole thing. And
Sure.
the big thing that I love is that I look like like how like an Evercade, how you actually have like a D-pad that's fully connected. Like I like how that has a D-pad that's fully connected. Like for it's really just a preference, but yeah, you don't feel and you have those other trigger buttons, but you don't hit them, and you do you don't bump those other things. Like it is the screen is great. Now here's one thing that did take a little bit getting used to. So if there is a game of something like Soul Survivors or Vampire Hunters where it's meant to be played on a bigger TV, like your characters will appear to be like a little bit smaller. Not to where you can't see it, but it's different versus something like Donut Dodo, which that I can run 4x3, it's bigger. So it does depend on the game, but it's not too. So but I'm just saying that coming from the Evercade handheld, that was something that was just a little bit different.
Yeah.
But nothing that you can't get you can't get used to. The one thing that I was really impressed that, and I did do a test, is that if you just hit the power button on it, you put it to sleep. And I had it charged up to 100%, and I left it in there like unplugged. And when I came, let's say that was around, what were we doing, around 11:30? And when I came back around 4 or 5 to check it and take it out of sleep, the battery was still at 100%.
Nice.
So it can come out like instantly. So then the other thing, so it's so as far so let me give you some examples. So something like Soul Survivors that isn't verified, fired that up. I just had to like map a button because I like the bigger trick. Didn't have to do much. Anything that's verified, everything is mapped. Something like something like Pac-Man. That's like, that game came out in 2016, right? That one, the community actually created profiles because that's designed just for a keyboard, and the buttons were kind of wonky as far as starting your game. Like I had to like size the screen the way that I wanted it. Actually, for one of them, somebody created like a Tate profile. I haven't messed with it. Where you could use the
Steam Deck and the Tate.
Yeah, like with the trackpad, so you could kind of for like I haven't tested that, but anyways, so I had to so when I launched it, so there was like it wasn't as easy like let's say like in the PS4 to get into the menu, but I just had to figure out the buttons. But once I set, because how I wanted the resolution to be like how high, then it's fine. So for games that aren't verified, or like one other game that wasn't verified, like to dodge or whatever, normally I'd like to use the triggers. For some reason, I can't map that. But that's another. But then again, those were 2 games that I got from Fanatical that were like $1. So I don't care. So and eventually, so the games that aren't verified, yes, like Donut Dodo, everything was, but everything worked. I'm surprised that isn't like, it defaulted to the 15:9, where like you could see the artwork from the like pseudo arcade machine on the side, or you could have it 4x3.
Got it.
So but I was, for the most part, things are playable. I haven't to do much tinkering. If anything, I look to see how many frames. Yeah, you're laughing at Pete, but exactly, man. Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, but so what's funny though, and I kid you not, like Pac-Man, I tried to put that at 40 frames per second, and it choked, which is weird. So but I put it back up to 60, but I still had like 6.5 hours of battery life. Something like Donut Dodo put to 40 frames a second, and that was like 7.5 hours. So it's I don't know, it's kind of fun, but it's kind of neat. You can like tinker, or like Black Widow, I had to like actually bump the frames up to 45 because sometimes when there were too many things. But again, you can play with everything for 60, and it charges up pretty pretty quick. So for me, it checked all those boxes. I can dive more into indie games. If I wanted to, I can get newer games. I have a whole back catalog. I don't know, and I don't and Nintendo's mad at the Steam Deck, so that's another plus. But I don't know. My personal opinion, I just feel like after the Super Nintendos, when they lost touch with their player base and went in all kinds of crazy directions.
Well, I mean, they're a company that loves to experiment, so like they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do for what they think is their core audience. And I mean, sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I gotta say though, like whatever engineer or designer or somebody, whoever came up with the idea of the Switch when they came up with it, that was a slam dunk for Nintendo, because of course they were the handheld kings, in the console space. So like you weren't touching them, and they're like, well, what if we just our next console was just a handheld you could play on the TV, and it was a little bit bit better than what we got on the 3DS. And
Yes.
someone went, yeah, sure, let's do it. And well, now here we are,
Well, and here's the other thing too, because I think as far as like, I think maybe it might make me more credible for Evercade, because it's like, hey, if I have a Steam Deck and I still like Evercade, I'm still collecting it, and I recognize they're completely two different things. Like, not that not that people quit, I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like, it just kind of adds that whole thing. But yeah, Evercade still satisfies the niche of discovery, of having retro, finding gems, having physical media. Yeah, the Vita, and I know it's going to be around, and then they even thought.
Well, the problem with the Vita and Sony though was that's what I wanted them to do. I wanted them to take that ball and run it to the house, and they did.
And then they abandoned it. Yeah,
they didn't do it. I was like, man, what a shame! What a shame that was, because the Vita was so good. It was so good. And I still to this day say that if in the middle of that life cycle, if they had made a decision, they'd be like, hey, you know what? We launched PlayStation Plus, on PS3. We got the Vita, and they're like, oh, well, you know what? If we make all of our PS3 games that are the indie titles cross-compatible with Vita and allow you to play those titles on your Vita.
Yeah.
It would have been like all the way from like the moon.
So you can
and just slam dunk that thing on people. Like, it would have been amazing.
It would you can get a jailbroken Vita off of eBay from like Japan for like $100 plus the shipping. So
well, I mean, it's if I can, I mean, I'm a big sad face about my Vita because I lost two of them in the flood. So I'm a big sad face on there.
But pretty much the biggest difference, the knock is that. Yeah, but so the thing is, like, again, if you like the Switch and that's just like, that's fine. But for me, I like the variants in the Steam door, the Steam library.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like the main exclusives. Like if you like the Marios and the Zeldas and you have to play those, and you have to play those games without emulating them, then the Switch, then the Switch is the way to. But for me, it's just like for the cost, my back catalog, what I want. And the other thing too is that I think even if you want to get a decent PC with a good video card. Like, I don't even know if you could get that for $400, but for me though, I wanted it because I want to play it in handheld mode. Yes, I may have to wear my glasses more because I've been playing the VS, but that's fine. I mean, again, I've never seen an OLED screen, but for me, it checked all those boxes. I know there were like other plugins people had where you could turn up the saturation. I'm like, no, I don't need to. I don't need to mess with it. So I think if it's somebody like out of the box where you just only want to buy Steam games that are verified and play, like it'll do that.
Yeah,
and you can do. And you can do other stuff. And as I talked about, if there is like something like Marvel versus Capcom 2 or like Power Stone 2, like if I wanted to emulate, those Dreamcast games that I know I can't really play anywhere else, and I can do it on, a real console versus a piece, then I have that flexibility. Yeah, and you can, exactly. Like you can do stuff like
you can play World of Warcraft on it.
Yes. So for me, that was my decision. I didn't want more of the same. I wanted something, and it, not portable, just to play around the house. Oh, and I will say too, I don't know why, but like. The case that you get, and I can't like this is like the hard case that you get is actually like of good quality. Like I would feel confident like chucking this like in a backpack,
Yeah, that's good. It's kind of like the one I have that I used to take around my Evercade.
Yeah.
Only it was made originally for the NES Mini.
But it's exciting because now I can't wait till when I get the XP compare the two, look at the differences. It'll be it'll be great. So I think really it's kind of like there is no wrong, kind of wrong answer. I just, kind of for consoles, but I definitely like looking at things like Analog Pocket, like that's just like a luxury. I don't know, like that, like, again, like that didn't, plus then you'd have to like wait, when I saw that Steam had finally caught up and you could get it within a week or two. But yeah, I think definitely like, the cost to entry, it's a $400 plus the cost of the micro SD. And then the taxes, but really that is really all you need to get started. I only cared about a dock because I wanted some way to capture videos, or if I wanted to mess with the Linux OS, I wanted to be able to plug in a keyboard and mouse.
Right.
So that was really and again, like something like an arcade machine or like the Ultimate Legend, like would be awesome, but that's not that's not portable, and it serves a different again, it serves a different purpose. Like if I can't, I could play Pac-Man and Donkey Kong, which would be awesome. I can't play those other indie games. So that's what ultimately, led me down, this path. And I mentioned earlier, those are like a lot of my presents for next year. But it's definitely from all the videos that I watch, it's definitely the quality and it is what it is. If you're thinking of that, if you're thinking of wanting to get that that type of device. And what I did want to share real quick is how like what I've been using for deals. Let me share.
Oh, I think I got that. I think I actually still have that site.
So here's what's it's funny. My Steam name isn't even related. Oh yeah, and I gotta do the survey. So here's what's neat. So with GG deals, you can look for bundles, you can look for games, and you can do a search for anything, and it'll tell you if there's like the stores that are like legitimate, or the ones that they'll give you one. But what's neat is you can import your whole list, right? And actually, I have it set to the DRM. So this is everything that's on my wish list. All I have to do, and then what's neat about this is it'll look at Steam and it'll look at all these sites. And these are just kind of all the game. And I actually, some of these games I even added because it was easier than just putting it in and searching. So it's easier to find a game, do a search for it, add it here, and you can see like right now on Steam, like for the Steam sales, like No Man's Sky is $30, but here it's like $20. So it's and I like the Cowabunga collection. I keep an eye on that. Like if that comes cheap enough, then I would pick it up. So I highly recommend GG.deals, and it's part of the same GG.deals news bundles. This will go ahead. This will look at like Humble Bundle, Fanatical, and all those, and you can see what bundles come out.
That's really cool.
Which is great. But yeah, and like I think y'all may remember like on a few shows back, like when I bought like Doom and Doom 2, like Doom works great. And actually it looks better than on my PC monitor because it's not as big of a screen. And what's funny about that is that everything was mapped to use like the access, like the trigger actually was automatically mapped to shoot. But like I wanted to change I wanted to go in and manually map the keys in the game. I couldn't do it, but but it was fun. I stuck with the default layout. So it's but again, that game isn't verified. So that's kind of like the games that are verified, you can fully map everything. There's community profiles when you can download with the game. So there've been like for unverified games, so there've been one or two times where maybe like the game got stuck and I had to reboot. Yeah. But it's really, it's not a big deal. And I did also want to share a poll. So yeah, for it's kind of like get the device that's like best for you. And for me, that's what it was. And actually, so I asked, are you getting a Steam Deck in 2023? I was just curious. And I actually have to pick one because YouTube is stupid. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. 14% or 13% is my vote. People said yes. 64 said no. 21% of the people already had them. So it was like a mixed bag.
Oh, that's not bad. I mean, for me, and for right now, I'm still a no. But like obviously, if someone magically just dropped spare cash on me, I'd probably grab one. Just to have fun and tinker with it. But at this point, I'm still not in.
So here's the other thing, Rich. You have a bunch of different devices. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you have all the things that you could do on the Steam Deck, because you have the VCS. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like all the type of indie games and stuff, you can play on that. You have the Ultimate, all the arcade and others. You can. So for you, I think you're right. It would be and you have a Poly Mega on order. It would be like it would definitely be a luxury item if you're like, hey, I want this device to do all those things so I can be on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you can do all those things. For me, other than the Evercade, the PS4, my PC with just a built-in video card. I don't really have. Well, okay, I have a boxed up Wii, but I don't really have everything else, and I can't, and I can't do all those, and I can't do all those things.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I don't see this to be like any replacement, because it's like, technically, could you go and get all those games? Yeah, you could, but you don't have the magic. You don't have the curation. You don't have the physical media. You don't have the collectible. You know what I mean? You lose. So that's why I think what did Crow jokingly said they play Cathedral on it. It's like but I already have it'd be pointless, and plus I already have my save. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would have to be a situation where it's just like, I'm going on a trip and I'm going to be away, and that's like a $1 sale part of a bundle. Fine, because I really love that game and I want to play it away, and I can only bring one device.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it doesn't. But yeah, so far I've played that played that just primarily in handheld mode, and that's what it's,
Well, yeah, I mean that's what it's there for, right? It's to put it's to put Steam in your hand while you're, on the bus or in in the living room or on break,
Yes.
whatever. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, yes, maybe you make a deal with the devil that you're totally going digital, but at least like I trust that digital source.
Mhm. Well,
again,
yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, Steam's been around for so long, and I know never say never, but I mean, I seriously doubt they're going anywhere anytime soon.
No, dude. I mean, like, I kid you not. Like, before I got back into PC game, I maybe hadn't logged into my Steam account like for 5 or 10 years, and everything was still there. It wasn't like Origin where they delete. Everything was there. Save files were there. You know what I mean? So it's like that, and then how Valve is supporting it, listening to people. It's not like, so it's like, sure, if you just want to do emulation, yeah, you could probably get like a lesser expensive $150 device, but then you're locked into that. And that was kind of my backup plan. If Valve completely abandoned it for some reason, hey, I can still run emulation on it. Now, personally, for me being a Linux guy and all that, like, I'm not going to load Windows. I mean, yeah, I've seen where you can dual boot and all that stuff, but I can't bring. Oh, cool, Steve. Yeah, you got a terabyte. Yeah, and see, that's the thing. You can get more cards later. Actually, one guy, like fan of the deck, he has like several cards, and he actually had like a holder. You can like get a holder, and you can put,
you just keep swapping out the cards. Just
yes,
have
exactly.
all of your games. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, on the bus. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not for the bus for better than everywhere RPG plans. I mean,
so
cool.
And then I guess the other thing too, because like, as much as I do love Ethercade, there are other retro stuff that I want to do. So kind of with that, like on this channel, you will start to see Steam Deck stuff, like, not only just games. I think I'm going to journey and talk about day one. I think Rich is going to do some, he might do some things with that Arcade Legends behind him and other.
Yep. Yeah, it's. I mean, either the Legends cab will start getting used, or I mean, there are things here that are around me right now that I'd love to like play around and mess with. That may not fit on the bacon ice cream side of things. So yes, they will wind up being here. So,
but the one thing I will say that, like, I don't think that like I don't think that like the deck is a Switch killer or vice versa, and I don't think somebody is better or worse if they have one. What I do like though is at least now it's always good. I'm glad it does give Nintendo some like real competition in the handheld space. That's that's the one, and kind of like with any of these devices, depending on what you have, the way you play games is fine. It's just it doesn't have to be like it doesn't have to be like official like FPGA. And that's the other thing, like analog, they take too long to get stuff. I mean, if you happen to have a pocket and you got your hands on one and you enjoy it, great. But for me, and like even to get like a modded GBA or game gear, unless you do, that's like at least $300 or $400, and then you're having older tech, and it's like, yeah, that is cool, but I just again, if you can only choose one, like if anything, you could call it the it's kind of like it's the Lord of the Rings handheld gaming device, one device.
right, one device to rule them all. Yeah.
I mean, nothing is perfect, but yeah. So Pete, you weren't here, and that's I was saying like how you and Crow and Rich with different devices we're a big influence. Like and actually that's why I was using you as a comparison. That hey, like the Polymega is great for someone like you. You have a collection of a bunch of physical games. Like it is cool to consolidate, but for me, I don't. So it's like and even then, once you do that, then you get all the cool benefits of save states, and it makes it more Evercade like, and so that's kind of the big thing. Like and again, I think you have to decide what it is that you want to collect, and I think it's awesome for people who do have physical media. Like I would love if I had the means, what I would love to do, like I'm sure you may have heard of like Shoryuken, Jim, like he lives in Japan.
Yep.
And he goes on retro game hunts. But what he does do is he also like you can go to his Patreon and pay him X amount of money per month, and he'll actually send you Japanese games.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, and what's neat is it's not like some of those like that box guy buy you where you mainly get like all like $5 sports. I hate to say it, those are fun to watch, but sometimes I feel like you get the games like the cheap games that nobody else like. He'll actually pick like good ones. Or like the US version of it would be super expensive. So
well, you know why I have that box, right?
Yeah. That's
when
you gave your Evercade like high score challenge people when you
yeah.
Well, that's what I mean.
Come play a game. I'll just give you a box. Yeah, just take a game out of the box of garbage.
Yeah, so that's what's like. Evercade fulfills the physical media. This kind of this is kind of like for everything else. But if I were gonna do that, like it would be cool. I don't know, to get like to get physical Mega Drive games, even though that's more expensive, but like the artwork and everything is so it's like,
Right.
if I were to do something like that in the future, like that would be odd, but that would be like for a specific thing. Like that would almost be like for a collection read. But yeah, that's, you know, that's completely out of the cards for right now. So that's what you have to decide. What is it that you want to collect? For me, Evercade is perfect for that. And what do you want to have? I guess you could say like, what's your, you know, like your main kind of console for everything else? You know what I mean? You know,
Indeed.
like, you know,
Indeed.
but yeah, with that said, I would still love a Namco arcade on like the EXP to be able to play in Tate mode, because I might be able to experiment with that on the, you know, on the
Right.
on the deck.
Well,
But
you never know, man. You never know. It could always happen. You know.
But and the other thing too to keep in mind, I mean, yeah, that's a lot more expensive device than an Evercade. Like for what, and that's why I can't wait for the price point that the EXP is. I can't wait to see what all it, you know, what all it can do and all that. But yeah, it did make me happy that people would watch that type of content here.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I want to be loyal to other people because they, you know, known as pretty much a permanent Evercade channel. So you know, and sometimes you just want to change things up. Like that's the thing I love about being an Evercade. Sometimes it's a challenge, like just talking about like one thing. Sometimes it can be like, what do I put out next? What do I get excited about? You know, it can make it, you know, it could be challenging. So it's nice to have, you know, variety between the two things. So yeah, that's when I was teasing earlier. I'm like, it might be in the cards, it might not. Just kind of have to see things. And I really wasn't sure.
Right. That's cool though, man. I'm glad you're, you know, you're having fun. I'm glad it's, you know, it is there. It is ready for you to, you know, to enjoy. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, like Pete. Yeah, sounds like he does.
Yeah. He's doing all sorts of stuff over there. Very cool stuff.
And see, even like the play date would even be really cool because like if you're waiting in line or if you're running out, you're not going to bring the deck with you. Like there's no, like even an Evercade is a little bit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like that, but you know, there is a place I think for devices like that where like, hey, while I'm waiting and doing this thing, or while I just want a little fun thing I can jump in and play that'll, you know, kind of like the old Game Boy. Like, so that's
right.
So I'm glad. So it is of really good build. Like, you know, when I compare like the plastic around it is good. Like the controller, like, it's as good as like a PS5. And I think Pete can attest, like, you know, or what I would imagine a modern Xbox, like the buttons and everything feel really good. The D-pad feels good. Oh, and the twin sticks feel really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like playing
even at the positioning is all right for you.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, see that, and like I said, I know, like initially, like I made fun of it, but it's you know, holding it out, like it's weird. Like it feels more natural that way. And it is a little bit heavier. Like you just have to, but it's not like too super heavy. Where like you're like, oh, but it's just if you're used to playing something like, you know, like an Evercade or like the Evercade controller that's light, like holding like a Nintendo controller, you know, and you don't really hit the triggers. It's almost like ergonomically they made it to kind of fit your hands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then the screen is a good size. You know, the screen is a good size. You can view it from all angles. I don't see any glare. I've only, you know.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't used it. Yeah. There's no washouts. I haven't used it outside. But yeah, it's definitely a premium. You know, the thing feels of a premium quality. All the buttons are good. Pretty much everything like Pete is like said about it, you know, is like true. Like the directional pads are good. Nothing feels sticky. You know, I didn't want to get like any cases or anything, you know, in the beginning, but yeah, everything is good. And you know, they're all those parts are replaceable too. So over time, if you do get stick drift, like what's that new technology where they're like magnetic? Oh, I forget what that's called.
Oh yeah,
but like the Neo or whatever had, you know, where like it's supposed to get rid of stick drift. Which I've seen some people have modded those and put that in the Steam Deck. So I imagine over time you could probably pop one of those in there.
Okay.
You know.
Nice.
But I'm definitely impressed with the quality of the screen, and that's why I say you don't have to pay for the 650 because I think if you start off with this screen, yeah, maybe I've never looked at an OLED screen, but it looks really crystal and clear. You know, start off with SD cards if you don't mind. You know, that's why I say, Rich, you're a tech guy like me. Like if it comes down to you know, you can open it up. It's pretty easy. The only nervous thing is making sure that it's shut off and disconnecting the battery, but it's not too difficult. You just, you know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's, you know, I'm used to working on stuff, you know, and sometimes even in tight electronics. So yeah, it's not you know, I wouldn't feel too bad about getting into one of those things.
Yeah. Sure. And then the only thing you need is either like a USB-C to USB, you know, adapter, like one of those little guys. So you can, cause then you just like put that into a thumb drive. Like you would like hold down like power and the button and you boot it up. You download Steam's image to it and you just have to reload the OS. So it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I'm like, but right now, if like start off like Pete said, he got like a terabyte. Yeah, it's like that's the thing, you can upgrade cards as you go along. So it's like, what, you know, because initially I was overwhelmed with all the accessories. I'm like, what do you need now? You know, I'm like, you have the back catalog of a lot of games. Just get a few of them on the Steam sale. You can start out from there and grow. But yeah, everything feels premium. That's why I want to try to do some videos to try to show that. But it's difficult, you know.
Yeah, I mean, even me, I'm sitting on 170, Steam games, and I'm like the most casual of casual people for Steam. It's just that games appear before me for Steam because it's like I can't resist a Humble Bundle where my friend texts me. It's like, hey, there's a bundle. It's $7 and you get like 70,000 games. You're like,
dude,
okay.
You know what was cool that I never got to play because of the stupid DirectX requirement was like the Strider remake. Like I had bought that a long time ago for $1, and I was like playing that.
Right.
And so just loading up stuff like that is neat. But yeah, the one thing I will say too is that, which is maybe a good thing, like it's really loud. Like the volume is like the volume is like incredible. Like you get good sound out of it. Like
nice.
Like sitting there on the couch, I've like turned and it has real buttons to turn it down. And the brightness, I've left it on the default, which is like adaptive, and it's plenty bright. Like I'm like, God, you could crank that up.
Nice.
But yeah, I did a lot of research. I watched a lot of YouTubers. I saw for people being honest and all that. And I'm like, you know what? And that's what when they say you really can't go wrong with a model, it's like yes, it's within your price range, but you can start off with the low end one like I did and just get a micro SD card and be good.
Got it.
And then if you really want to upgrade, I mean, plus I'm like at some point I'm like that would just be kind of fun. Like that would be like a fun video to do to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but yeah, I think when I counted, it was like 400 games, but that was like years of getting Humble Bundles, like especially the ones you can get for $1. Sometimes you get $2 or $5. You get a bunch of other ones, or games go on sale. So that's the other thing. It's the most budget friendly device. And so before, I don't want to say like Steam keys weren't as good, but now I'm like, hey, now I can play it on an actual console. And then in a way, it is kind of nice being a little bit limited by space. That way you can't just install 400 games and have and be blown away by it. But yeah, and then between those times, I think I started to say between those times where it's 2 months, you played through your Evercade carts, you're like, yeah, I really enjoy this, but I want something else new and shiny to kind of like last me in between. There,
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so
nice.
So for me, I think I just like going forward. I don't have interest like in an Xbox S or PS5 because I can do get everything on that. I think pizza probably by that time Deck 2.0. I would imagine like in another 3 to 5 years or 2 to 5 years. Yeah, then the next one they'll improve on battery life and they'll make it. You know what I mean? Like from there it'll.
Right. Yeah. No, I think they've been trying to break into the market for a really long time. Valve has. With all sorts of different experimentations and varying degrees of success. And, I'm happy to see them, like kind of really making a stride here. Because in the end, this could wind up being, like a true fourth player, emerging from the side. You're not expecting them to be there. And then all of a sudden they're running alongside the big three. And I think that's really cool.
And I will say,
you need that, right? You need that competition.
Yes, I think I haven't seen, but there was like the one fan that was like the fan isn't even too loud. Like the thing doesn't feel too hot. Like maybe a little warm if I set it down, but sometimes even after like an Evercade session, that side where the battery is can feel.
No.
But it's funny because the Steam boxes, like those were just like licensed by Steam. They didn't
right.
Half-Life.
Well, that's the thing. They were trying, and they were like, oh well, because they didn't want to get into hardware, right? And then it was the Steam box, and then there was the Steam Link. They actually put out a piece of hardware where they're like like doing the streaming thing from your PC, and that was fun. Yeah. It was like a novelty thing. And then I guess they just realized, what, we just need to put a thing out.
Yeah. And that's why I hate when people, dispel the myth of Valve abandoned. No, like exactly. They came out with the app, and they're like, well, having this device is stupid when you can just have an app on your phone. You don't need. Oh, and that's the other thing too. I can stream my PS4 through it. So if there's like some games I still want to play on that, I can stream it to,
right.
To that device. So yeah, I think but yeah, like Half-Life, like let's say something like Half-Life 3, or like that comes like there's some game I really want to play.
Oh man, if they drop that, it's just Steam exclusive.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Because every now and then, like something like maybe Elden Ring, I've heard like maybe once that drops down to 1990, like I might want to give that a try. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like sometimes there are like some AAA titles that do look cool that I would like to try, but I didn't have any means. So yeah, no, I'm stoked, and I can't wait to spend more time and and journal. So yeah, if you know if y'all are looking for a similar device, yes, it you know it checks it you know it checks all those it checks all those you know all those boxes. Like I said, I might have to stop keeping it next to the bed. But
Oh, New World's on sale. I alpha tested that game.
ooh,
That's kind of cool.
oh wow, Pete really likes Elden
Ring.
Ring. Yeah. But yeah, to kind of recap, it's kind of like, ask yourself, do I really have to have physical media? What do and then like what devices do I have? How do I really want to play? And then go from there. And so for me, Evercade checked everything for physical media, and then I had that's kind of like the short answer. Then this is and and like I said, for me, I was so skeptical of this device. I was like, no, that and then I saw like how Valve made tons of updates. They came along, a lot of YouTubers, and I should also mention too that you can even you have the standard stable version. You can even switch over to their beta and experimental if you want to really be crazy and be like if I had the means, it'd be cool to have like you see some YouTubers that like have 2 Steam Decks, one they keep in that mode and one they keep stable, and you can get skins. You can and there's like an insane amount of and like, yeah, maybe at some point I may explore those, but just to start off, you can just have the deck. I would just say that if you weren't wanting this, I would say that if you were wanting something like not to use in a handheld mode, you would probably be better off. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really tested like Oh, I got the $400 one with a 512 gig SD card, and then I can upgrade it as I go along. But yeah, I can't wait to see the EXP be there. And actually, now that I have that, I can't wait to do I want to compare all the LCDs and the different angles and
yeah.
Ooh, let's take my glasses. That's one thing too of having to wear. I only really need my glasses if I'm reading or looking a lot. It's funny because like my eyes have like kind of how the doctor explained let's say somebody to read normally for somebody it would just be like at a walking pace, but for me it's more of a marathon. So that's why sometimes like on streams like this I can have my glasses off, but if it's something where I need to be like focused, but because I've been playing something if I play like on a big TV or like the VS, I sit back, I don't need glasses. So that for me that was kind of the only adjustment, having to do that. No, not the middle one. No, the one where you get the where you get the 64 gig, which is literally just for the OS, and then I have a 512 gig micro SD, and then it has all my games on it. And see, they made little quality of life improvements to now you can choose the default for that, and when you install every game, it'll ask you where you want to put it.
Right.
Yeah. The base model. Yeah. Yep. And that was anything I was kind of hesitant, but I saw yes, you can get the base model. The other models are more luxury. It's like great if you have the money, but if I will say though, like I don't want to say Steam points are useless, but you can only use that for cosmetics. Like you get like 40,000 of them when you get it, but I'm like, hey, okay, I'm like, cool. I kind of like that virtual keyboard, so you can or stuff like for your profiles. But you can't buy games. That would be,
Yeah,
that would be. Now, the one thing I will be curious when the EXP is shipped, because I like how they have it in a box and then they put it like in the case, which I think is great to protect it. I wonder if the EXP, if they'll do the same thing. Like it'll actually come like in the EXP will actually come in the case to help protect
in
it.
the case.
Yeah, which I think is smart. I've seen that with other like handheld devices and.
Yeah, that is kind of smart to just like have it, like already protected.
Yeah,
maybe put a little extra foam in there or whatever.
And I guess so for me the other thing, so like for me, like if I know I'm going to do a longer gaming session, like that's where I go to the VS. But like at the end of the night, unless and I have popped in Cathedral to be on the couch, although that one sometimes it can be difficult to play a game that really requires your attention to be on fan. But the other nice thing I will say of something like the Steam Deck that I guess you could do with the Switch is it is nice if you do, as somebody once quoted, if you're a buffet gamer, I stole that from Pete. It is nice to not have to get off the couch if you just want to be there, chill, and just kind of like play some games and switch around. No, I haven't. So I haven't. Well, I'm not gonna because I wanted to open the thing, which I won't actually show them, but I do want to give my first impressions because I think there's been so many unboxing. It's like when the Mini 2 came, like when the Mega Drive Mini 2 came out.
Yeah.
Some people even said I'm not even going to bother because at that point you don't care. But no, I am going to give my first impressions and kind of my day one, kind of going back, and I do want to document that because I think that'll be kind of fun for for people to see. But yeah, I was very skeptical of the device. So it just, it just more or less depends. But then again, it does different things. I know, Rich. Once you get that Polymega, you're like, yes.
Oh, I mean, as soon as I get any kind of shipping notification for that thing, I'm going to start doing cartwheels because it's like, I've been waiting for the thing for so long, and it's one of those things where it's like, I'm now that things have happened to me, in this adventure of putting down money for things and then waiting for long times and not getting anything, I'm getting a little punchy with the Polymega because it's like, oh well, a lot of people did get them, but then like maybe I don't know, are they gonna run out of like money and then not be able to get me mine and then like have to like send me my money back or whatever? Like what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those things. Like I'll be very happy when I get it. It's just that like at this point I'm just waiting. I'm like, oh well, if I get it, great. I just have to keep moving on.
You have a lot of stuff to play on it, but what is so cool that I do like love about the Polymega is you can find let's say like that RPG that here like like something like a Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy that here that's like what over $100 versus like you can get like Chrono Trigger for like maybe though like I don't even think those are like $5. Like seriously, like for the loose like Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, you mean like the Famicom or the Super Famicom versions? Yeah,
and then you just
get them for really really cheap.
Yep. And then you just download the translation patch, and even if you copy them over, then you have it there. You don't put any more wear and tear on the cart, and you have like the cool physical media, and you can, what I mean? Like it checks all those boxes. So I think that, like if you go down that route, like, and the Polymega, like that, it's like that even does it better than the Retrons. I want to say that's like it is the only device that also does it with CD too.
Yep. Well, and that's why the reason why I'm getting a Polymega is because I've always wanted to play Saturn.
Yeah.
And specifically, I wanted to always play Saturn, like a lot of Japanese Saturn games.
Yes.
So like when the thing finally gets, that's exactly what I'm in. I just straight to eBay, importing games almost every other week. Like and that's it. That's exactly what I'm going to use that thing for.
But I think the big thing too, Rich, is I think you're also like you also want to collect and have like the physical media too.
Yes. So that's those the discs aren't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
They'll be in a stack somewhere. But the cool thing about the Polymega is that I'll be able to put those things in there,
translate it,
put them to the hard drive, get the translations, do all that kind of stuff, and then go store it. Like I don't have to have like all of these other things like directly in the way, intruding on the space in this little office here.
Exactly. And so that's worth like if you want to plug and play, because like if I want to play that, if I really want to play that, I can emulate it. But then the trade-off is I don't know the physical game. I don't have that experience. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the thing. You capture all the nostalgia. Even if the disc is kind of semi-meh, it just has to copy it over once. You know what I mean? If there's like a scratch on it, you put it on the shelf. You have the cool artwork, and I think it's cooler to own the Japanese version of it. And you have the patches. See what other questions? Yeah, you see that? No, I saw that. Actually, I have that on the PS4. I've thought about. And again, that's kind of the whole thing I wanted to say is that this was like the right choice for me. So that that's kind of the clear thing, and I think for me that I wanted to share that if there are other people that are thinking of getting into the Steam Deck, and it is like, is it worth the cost because of the investment? I mean, I think so, and that's why I kind of want to document, that, and again, no device is perfect, but for now, it seems I'm still going to hang on to my PS4. My daughter sometimes plays it, and I never said I would get rid of a console. I still even have my GBA that I sometimes.
That's right.
That I sometimes want to play, but there's a specific purpose, for owning certain devices, and it just depends on what you want to do. That was kind of the other thing too. Like Steam has leaderboards, and that's one of the things I wanted to point out too is that one thing I think is gross that Sony does. If you want to play anything online except for leaderboard, you have to pay for their plus just to do multiplayer online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which, I guess you can argue that maybe it's not, it's cheatable or whatever. But but like with a PC or like if you want to play online, you don't have to pay anything else extra. But like that was one of the things I did like about like I said, they were super cheap, a couple bucks getting like Pac-Man and Dig Dugs. But I versus if I did emulate that on MAME and have to set it up, I do also have that high score leaderboard, even though I may never get on it. It's you know what I mean?
No, it's cool to have it though, right? Like it's they have it be there.
Yeah, this is something. This is
Oh
something
my
I've been going over
goodness.
for months because believe me, like when you unbox that and that Ultimate Arcade Legend, like in that moment, I'm like, oh, I want one of those. And then you see something, and then I'm like, oh, I want. You know what I mean? So like, there's definitely a different reason. The only one thing I was sure of, like, I didn't just want like an arcade one up, and like that I would have to fully vet because, then you're gonna have to upgrade the sticks, and you want to get one with a good screen. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Mhm.
I wanted something that I knew was going to be a quality product. Like I'm sure you felt the same with the Legends. You're like, hey, I like it has a nice screen. I like the sticks. All I have to do is just plug in my BOE ROMs, and I'm good to. You know what I mean? Log in, and
Mhm.
I don't have to do anything else.
Oh man, yeah. I went looking because Brian was talking about that Genesis bundle, so I was just like, you know what? Let me go see what's going on with this thing. That's a quality bundle right there. $13.99. Well, $13.93. On Steam, the Mega Drive and Genesis Classics bundles, 55 games for $13.93. That's a pretty slamming bundle, and you got all sorts of really cool stuff. You get Game Ground in there. You
Oh,
got
you know what? Okay.
Sonic 3D Blast, Space Harrier 2, Alex Kidd, Enchanted Castle, Echo Jr., Eternal Champions is on here. That's a good game. Sonic
Ooh, so
Spinball is
actually, this
awesome.
is. You know what? Some of these games are the same. Some of these are different than what I have on my PS4. Oh, so you
Yeah.
know what's funny about this? Okay.
Sword of Vermilion, Landstalker, Light Crusader, Shining Force 1 and 2, and In the Darkness. Oh man,
Okay. I'm very
this can be
familiar with it.
purchased.
You know what's funny about this? There was a time where they called it like the Sega Smash Pack, and
Yeah,
it did
yeah,
like I think it was like free, and like that maybe came with like one like they came with like Golden Axe. I'm like that's why I have like Golden Axe Warrior on because you can buy the game separately.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then
yeah.
people figured out how to hack it where you could just take ROMs and put it in that format. So then I think they did away with it. And what's neat is you can also buy the games by themselves too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean this
Oh
is
yeah.
a this is like it's a really decent deal for sure. I mean,
Oh,
and
Virtua
a whole
Fighter
bunch of
2.
stuff, like tons of stuff that I haven't even played. It's very cool.
Yeah. And so that's you can get that Streets of Rage 3. And I think it does both. I want to say I think it does both US and Japanese. Yeah, it looks like the exact same thing that I have on my PS4 except I didn't realize this was on sale. Dang you, whoever said that. But yeah, the Valve price. See, that's the thing. Like the sales, like no one else. You know what I mean? So that's because, in my opinion, if you're like for something that's so here's my other thing too. For something that's digital, I don't think it should be like super expensive because it's not getting a physical copy, especially when it comes to like emulation and collections and all that. That's where like Evercade for getting what you get physically is an incredible price.
Right. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean? So yeah, when there's sales, it's like yeah, $60. That's a little bit much for everything, but yeah, like 13, like that's totally like that's that's totally reasonable unless you're doing something special like the Atari collection, Atari 50th, where they really like went the extra, where they
Mhm.
really went the extra mile. And it's more like an interactive, documentary. But that's the first one of its kind, right? I mean, there's some that's been a little bit more. So yeah, it's neat when there's extra, when there's extra add-ons and Oh, here's an obscure game I forgot. Like I don't know if there's any Mystery Science Theater 3000 fans in the crowd, but
Got
um,
it.
so somebody made like an actual like a Manos: The Hands of Fate game,
Mhm.
and like I had that on mobile. I'd forgotten that I had that on like that works great on the Steam Deck. Like it's like it's like 8-bit. Like I was playing that the other night. Like that's definitely not verified, and that's so that was kind of an obscure thing. But yeah, just stuff like that or things that are like in early access, like Vampire Hunter, like that might eventually come to a console, which some things do, like Stardew Valley. Like now I can go back and play that with real controls. Like my daughter plays the hell out of that on her phone, but that's I can't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The only thing though is I need to find like a decent Tetris. I saw they had like a Tetris Puyo Puyo 2, which kind of
Mhm.
looked cool. That's the only thing is there's a few of them, but well, so here's the other thing too. Like if I really really wanted to, because for some I'm like there have been times where like I've been really maybe wanting to play like that new like homebrew like Super Mario World that's like free. Like they redid this the Game Boy Super Mario World like in color
Mhm.
like stuff or like I'm like I would just like to play the OG Tetris on a better screen. And so I know that would look like beautiful like on the Steam Deck. Like it would look just as good if not better than like on an analog pocket and all.
Right, right, right.
And it's comfortable because you can hold it there on the that was kind of the other thing too when you have it. Oh, Counter no, I haven't. Actually, I bought that a long time ago, like back in the day.
I bought the like they had like this like Valve, like anniversary bundle or something like that, like long time ago. It was like 10, 15 years ago, whatever. And it basically was like every Valve game ever for like $15 or something. Like that.
You know, Team Fortress 2. Team Fortress 2, I do want to try on that because that's kind of like a very casual jump in.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, is the community still there? Like, is there a lot of players on TF2? Like, this is the weird thing I worry about some of these older games. Like you jump in to like Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. There's like people still playing that.
Well, so here's what's interesting. For PC, definitely, sometimes it can be smaller. But here's what's weird though. Like, can't remember this one YouTuber, but he was like, anyways, he actually I got, you know what? I will plug, hold on a second. I will plug him to kind of, so because he talked about like, like what is it like? Left 4 Dead. What's that one Valve like zombie? Oh man, it was like on the tip of my tongue, that Valve like zombie game that came out 10 years ago.
Left 4 Dead, isn't it? Left 4 Dead is Valve.
It is Left 4 Dead. Yeah, it is like Left 4 Dead 2. Like I think he said like in that one, because he was talking about mods, like that game still has like 10,000 like people that log, like 20,000 people that log in each day. So there have been games where I've played that have died, but there's also games like that either because of mods or whatever that there is a niche.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on a second. Yeah. Let me find, because I can't. Don't you just love, man? I think my problem is I'm subscribed to too many people. Okay. Right, let me just hold on. Let me just share this. And actually, Pete, if you're still on, thanks to you, I found this guy. And you'll see, because one of where it says we're like the truth about limited to run games kind of sucks. So that's how I kind of found him. So anyways, he did like this one about like let me go to videos. I really hate the way YouTube. So the mod that defined. So like he did this is like an hour video, whole thing where it says the mod that defined a game. It's like some Warhammer game, and like people made mods to be competitive, and it's like something really obscure. But he has kind of almost think of like he has a better voice than like Sega Lord X. I'll just put it that way. It's kind of like calming, and I can't believe I watched the whole thing for like an hour. But yeah, Pete's like, I do rock. So yeah, initially I saw that and I subbed to this guy. He made one why Ubisoft sucks. But anyways, he kind of talked about how mods can like define the game, and he's like really, and he said that possibly that's like the success off of Valve, like Skyrim. Like that's probably like Valve has been so profitable is because of the community keeping that alive. But anyways, it's kind of funny. I think the way you pronounce it, it's like Merksert. I don't know. I can't really say. But yeah, and he doesn't show himself like Sega Lord X. But if you want, he's kind of like documentary style thing where he'll just like pick something and it's kind of kind of go off in depth. I guess he releases them like once a month, while you're waiting for summoning salt. But yeah, thanks to Pete. Yeah, I wouldn't have known about him. But anyways, it's funny because I left the comments and I told him, I said, dude, you had me engaged with a hour. He's like, you're too kind. He's like, if you can share the video. So I'm like, all right, I'll give him it.
Awesome.
Give that person a shout out. But again, that's why we're all part of this like online gamer community. It's just so cool to be able to like, see other people's opinions, share things, and get, and give feedback, because really, when you can trust someone's honest opinion, is this thing cool or not? It's worth your time, and it's difficult. Like all of us, like we don't do this for a living. We have no skin in the game. If anything, it costs money to do
for sure. Yes.
To do YouTube, and sometimes you put out, and again, it's not about the views. Sometimes you put out something and it gets a lot of attention, and sometimes you don't. But as long as you at least get that one person that's like, oh man, I totally dug your content, you're like, worth it.
Yes, 100%. That's why. I mean, that's why I do it. It's like, even if it just even if people don't comment, like I put out a video and then it's someone that I don't know actually watches the video, then it's worth it. Like it's somebody just took the time to actually like came to my silly little channel and watched this mouth flap, and it's fine. It's all good. That's why I do it. Because it's fun. It's way better. He does it for the ladies.
Oh, we know the truth. Oh, okay. Now
Nice.
everything makes sense.
Yeah.
Pete. Everything makes sense. Oh,
all right, Pete.
and as we
But
talked about on Evercast, and we'll keep beating this drum because the YouTube interface sucks. Yeah, look look at the community, look in the community tab, look for look for our polls. I like on my channel, I do 1 or 2 of them a week. We'll at least be doing one here. And then this will be like the definitive play. And we'll also post the Twitter, but like when we do have to do reschedules or move cargo around, it'll be the definitive place to see if we're going to do it or not.
For sure.
You'll never just get nothing, but
Yeah. No, and there will be more stuff that will appear, and we'll be doing all sorts of weird stuff, random things too. So like if there's something that happens, it's like, oh, this is a little too random, just let us know. Let us know in the comments. We'll adjust it.
See, that's
nice.
See again, and that's exactly what an analog pocket is for. That's like you have your old Game Gear games.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the means, or you don't want to get like a modded, because it is expensive, although very cool. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of the whole. Yeah, and then like you can rediscover and see the graphics. See that? See, that's awesome.
Exactly.
And that's why I just as we've talked about, I don't like when there's people who are like elitist, like, oh well, you have to play retro games on the super like high tech like CRT that they don't make anymore, and if you can find it without, it's like whatever.
No, I mean it's fun. It's fun. Somebody wants you to go get a professional monitor or whatever, and you're like, okay, that's fine. It's all cool, and I what, more power to those people that actually do that stuff. But for the general person, just a way to play the game in some kind of modern way, easy, is just that's it. It's fine.
Well, that's what's funny. That's what Mad Little Pixel always says. He's like, listen, I'm just giving people options, because what's funny, because he'll like go out to Amazon, he'll buy like those like 10,000 games that are just like usually they're like crap devices. He's like, hey, he's like, I'm just giving people options. Someone may like it. There's all different, but it's funny. Like I'm sure he probably gets a lot of crap. But then again, like someone like I know like John Hancock, like I think he's even said like in a few of his videos, he's like, listen, I've been collecting. I didn't know he was a teacher, by the way.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have like he said, listen, I think he's been collecting for like 30 or 40 years, and he said like if he were to start retro collecting now, there's no way like he wouldn't be able to do it. Like it's like he started back then.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of base if you want to do it like they do. These people that have like just immense closets full of stuff. You had to have been doing it for since you were a kid and never let go. So
I'm not sure a lot of this, or you just have the means, or like you go to Japan. But here's what's nuts that I always want to know, because especially like in the in those videos where like if you watch someone like like a Scruffy RGB or like Kid Shoryuken or whatever, and then they go to the high end games, and you'll see like something like Neo Geo, and you'll translate it out, and you're like, that game is $3,000. Like seriously.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So like, I think like on one of them I saw Scruffy did. I mean, they were common Japanese games, but like you can get like some loose ones like Writing Hero for like $20. So like I think there's at least half a dozen or maybe a dozen games that are like $50 or less.
Right.
But but then again, like Neo Geos themselves still are like $400 or $500. They're still expensive. So it's nuts. But yeah, to your point, it's like it's kind of like if you don't live in Japan or another country where you can, where things haven't inflated here, then right. But even for us though, like you said, when you do get your Polymega, it is much cheaper to get that game off of eBay, even with the shipping in Japan.
Oh, 100%. Well, and then of course, I mean, some of those games are unavailable in any other territory. So, like Walking School, for example, like I really want to play that game because it's a lunar game that I've never played. So I must play this. I must play this. So, but it only came out in Japan, and there's a fan translation. So, but I need something that will play that Japanese disc or at least read it, and then the patch. So, Polymega is the way. So.
You know what you can do if you get? I know I keep dropping other YouTubers' games, but I just name. But listen, it's just like who I watch when I get influenced from. But like, I mentioned the Retro Future, like he does a lot of Game Boy stuff, and because of that, like I guess Syndico ended up being one of his sponsors. But even when he talks about him, I have to say it was. But like what they do, and this is if you want to get a lot of stuff like from Japan, they do Yahoo auctions, but like they can only send it to a Japanese address. So if you're getting a bunch of stuff, they'll ship it to Japan. But then like so when you get like a bundle, let's say of like maybe 10 or 20 items, it could be like $60. So it's not going to be. It might cost you as much for the one item, and it's not going to be worth it. But let's say, but and it could take between like 30 or 90 days depending on. But like Rich, if you're looking to get like a bunch of games,
Yeah.
and you're not in a hurry, it's like you might be able to, if you're like, hey, I'm going to spend $100, maybe you can get like 10 or 15 games and then
Right.
ship it all. And even with the shipping, it would be cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
It might be worth looking, and then you're getting it from the source from Japan.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah, that's
so
for
Nick,
you got one of those.
Is it worth tracking down to collect games for it? So it depends. If you're a fan of a lot of SNK's stuff, and you don't mind a very small library for a console, then yes, it's absolutely worth tracking down and getting games for, because there are some of the games that are just absolutely outstanding. In particular, the one that is in mine right now, Match of the Millennium, SNK versus Capcom. If I can get it to.
Didn't you say that's the size of an Evercade cart? Because it looks it.
It is just about the same size as an Evercade cart. In fact, here is Indie Heroes right next to my Match of the Millennium, and it is almost precisely the same.
It would like never happen, but like, let's say like accidentally you just like you take in like the pocket cart, you like put it in your Evercade and it boots up and it like whoa, now you have like a good screen.
Right.
But I guess that's the other thing too, because I think the smaller library, there's just like a few heavy hitters, so it's not as expensive. But how do you feel about, because like you're playing it like on an OG like non-backlit screen?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's Brian says, I like the pocket. It's not backlit. If you have a Switch, there are two collections for Switch now. Yes, you can go that route. And there's like 27 games, on the Neo Geo Pocket Color for the US. So like, if you get the collection, you're getting most of them. So you can just play them that way. And obviously it's modern. It will, if you play it on the Switch, you have a backlit screen, et cetera, et cetera. But there is something cool about this particular device. I really, really like the thumb nub, the analog nub on this thing. It feels really good. It feels really nice when you're playing this is a fight. If Match of the Millennium is a fighting game, it's like Street Fighter. Only everything is all chibi, very cute graphics, like that kind of thing. It's super neat. It's super neat to play.
See, that's what I would see. I think the other cool thing too, I think you got that at a time too when they weren't like super expensive, right? Like you've got that like year like.
Yeah, I bought this on like early days eBay from somebody that got one and just didn't like it. And then I wound up buying just random games on eBay for super, super cheap.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like, when I bought the handheld, it came with Sonic Pocket Adventure and Match of the Millennium, and then one other. Oh, it's the Metal Slug game. It came with Metal Slug, which is this one here. But then I went and bought, because I'm an RPG like action adventure fan. I went out and bought like a whole like bunch of other ones. I have False, which is the one where if you're looking for like what's the money cartridge, or like what's the one that I'm gonna actually wind up spending real world dollars on, that's this one. This is the one you're gonna spend the money on.
Yep.
But everything else is like sub $60. So
I think we looked. It wasn't too, like, I mean, yeah, maybe you might only have 150 invested for all, but I mean, which is phenomenal. Like, dude, I wish I'd had the four. But again, you collected it because you loved it, not because which I think is the right. But I think if you really want one and you look on eBay, you between like $100 and $150, I think you can pick one up unmodified with like a game.
Yeah, for the system, absolutely, yeah.
But then so it's kind of funny.
It's just False. Like if you're looking for games, False is the only one you're gonna pay like super money for. Like, and there are two more that are around $100, $125. But False is like $300 right now, so it's crazy.
So I think it goes back to the big question: do I have to have the physical media? I mean, don't get me wrong; it would be epic and awesome to play it on the original hardware. But it's like, do you want and nothing can replace that. But then you have to ask yourself: you could play it on an analog pocket, you could play it on a Switch, you could play it on a Steam Deck by different by different means. So, and I think, and I saw it's for Fan of Fiction. Ask, can analog play them? And Ian Hobby said yes with the adapter. Or I think you can also load a core, and heck, you can play real Neo Geo. So
there we go. There's
Dude.
the Sonic. There we go.
So here's what irritates me. For me, I want to say the Neo Geo Pocket was the Atari 7800 at its time. And what I mean by that, it was
Sure.
like, it was totally underappreciated. There were other systems like Game Boy and Game Gear,
Mhm.
and we really didn't appreciate it. And then now time has passed, and I was like, I remember you could get that with they had a bundle with Pac-Man.
Yeah.
It was like $80. You could get it with 3 games. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god.
I mean, and these games are very well programmed for handheld games. I really enjoy it. It's a fantastic device that I still play. I mean, it's sitting right here all the time because like when I'm sitting around just doing stuff in the office.
See, and you have plenty of
just
light, and that's
pick it up and play. Yep.
You know what? That is the one cool thing I will say. Like, yes, it is cool to have Game Boys and even a Game Gear, but like you show somebody like, hey, I've got a Pocket Neo Geo, like that's like whoa, like that raises some like that's definitely a showpiece. Like
it is kind of cool to like be like, hey, I have this.
You know what I think the greatest thing about that is I don't see it behind glass. You know what I mean? Like you actually have it right there. Like you use the thing. Like, dude, that's that's even better.
That's what it's meant to be, right?
Yes.
It's meant to do that, I wouldn't be able to just be like, oh, I'm just gonna lock this away and never play it. No, I can't. I gotta use the stuff I have. Because anything else would just make me sad.
You know what is sad? I just looked on. There's no official Neo Geo Pocket collections on Steam. I'm like, really?
No, not on Steam. It's Switch though. In fact, actually, let me go on the Switch store. Because it's Friday, so it's like, well, maybe.
They must have the exclusive lock on that. It's like, oh.
Well, I'm sure they did a deal, to get that collection. Store.
Just like with Cruising, they don't,
Yeah. Games. Let's see.
Man, unless you emulate it. So that's listen. I mean, I was listen. If I do believe if you do have the means and something is out there, you should buy it. But if you do, the only means you have is there's no shame in emulation if that's the only because stuff is expensive that's out there. That's all I'm gonna.
I mean, not bad right there. The first collection, it's a full price. But Selection 1 or Selection Volume 1 is most of the fighters: Fatal Fury, Last Blade, King of Fighters R2, Samurai Showdown, Match of the Millennium, Gals Fighters, and then Metal Slug, First Mission, Second Mission, Dark Arms, and Big Tournament Golf. That's the first collection. And then the second one, what does it have?
Well, and then that's why I say there's no shame in using ROM because I'm sure someone out there still makes like a micro SD card. So it's like you pick one of those up for $150. You pick up yourself one of those carts that you can put a micro SD. You download all the ROMs, and there you can play the whole Pocket collection in your pocket. And you have the cool clicky sticks and all the buttons and everything. That's also. So
Mega Man Battle, that's cool.
So here's what's great, and Pizza Love Hand. Here's the thing that the kind of the generation we come from, why that's so neat is when we grew up, when the first Game Boy, Game Gear, Lynx, it was all devices like that. Before that, you had those crappy Tiger Electronics. You had those little Zelda watches, which were neat, but they could only play one game. It's kind of like I could imagine when somebody first saw Pong and how cool that was, and then you actually had a cartridge portable based system.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I bring that up, Pete, because with the OG game, there was a time, and I made one of my friend's brothers mad. It's the fact that I told him that I liked the Game Boy more than his Genesis. He's like, but it has superior graphic. I'm like, yes, I get that, but for me, this thing is more fun. Not to knock on Genesis, but there was a time where even over Nintendo Super, the Game Boy, it was just the shiz. It was neat. The thing had endless battery life and Game Gear was neat too. Yeah, well,
no, that's cool.
That's what I can say to keep it PG-13.
Yeah, of course, it's cool though. It's cool.
But that is funny. My choice of words, and and the Game Gear was was different too. And
Brian, it is. I was just looking it up on the store. It's $39.99, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games.
So how much are both collections together?
80.
Okay.
Yeah, it's $39.99 for both.
So what's kind of interesting? It's like, hey, if you want a quick plug and play, easy way that's going to look good, and you already own a Switch, then wouldn't you say like those two collections are the majority of the good games? Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Falsey, I mean,
yeah, of course. But that's
really,
the spendy one anyways.
Yeah, really. I mean, so Card Fighters Clash is on the second collection, and there's some other ones that I would probably like to check out. Mega Man Battle and Fighters, Puzzling 2, and like there's another Japanese title that I'm definitely not going to try to pronounce. But other than that, there's a lot of like sports titles on here. Baseball Stars, the Neo Geo Pocket Tennis, Cup 98 Plus, which is a soccer game, and Big Bang Wrestling. Like those are the other games that are on that collection. And I'm like, it's okay at $40. I'm like, all right, to get Card Fighters Clash, it's like that's a great game. Like it's a really great game. Like maybe it'd push me to get that. That first collection though, hands down, $39.99. Just buy it, just done. Because all of those games are awesome.
Yeah, and that's where it's kind of coming from. Like if you already have a Switch for the I mean, again, it's not original hardware, but it's just I think you can still have an enjoyable experience on a handheld device. Yeah, you won't get the clicky stick, but if you have an analog pocket, you still don't have you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that's what like you can get the majority of the good games without having to buy the physical hardware. And now if you're wanting to collect the physical copies, of course. But yeah, Phantom Fit, yeah. First handheld was a Game Gear hooked ever. Yeah, there's just I don't know. There's just something I guess when you're younger, have littler hands. I don't know what it is, but there's just something like really cool about where it's like it's your own console. It has its own screen. It doesn't matter what mom and dad are watching anymore. I can play. You know what I mean? I think that's it gave us kids control. But yeah, there's something special about handhelds.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So let's see here. Let me see if I can do loose.
But you know what else is really cool about that I thought of? Wow. I bet though, Rich, in that Neo Pocket, you probably don't remember the last time you've changed the batteries in it because it's probably been I bet it's been a long time since, you know what I mean? Like that thing you probably get at least like probably, I'm guessing 20 out, you probably, which is a cool thing about it not being backlit.
You could play for a while on 2 AA's. And man, did those prices drop. So we're in the middle of a we're in the middle of a crazy market slide right now.
Are you looking on eBay?
No, I went to price charting just to check.
Oh,
and Falsey is still the most expensive game listed, but it's $172.79 right now. And Magical Drop Pocket, which didn't drop too much, was like $160, $170. It's $134.99 now. On price charting, but all of these other games, like there's Fatal Fury First Contact, which actually I don't have right now. It's going loose for $19.48. Pac-Man for $20. King of Fighters R2 for $22.99. Samurai Showdown for $24.48. I don't have any of these. Puzzle Link 1 and 2, $25 each. Like I might be going on eBay.
Actually, while we're on this topic, that's exactly what I was going to do. Let's look at this. Let's look at this live. So if we do
for real, because when they get down to that kind of price, sometimes someone will have a bundle. It's like, hey, here's a whole bunch of games for like $150, and you can wind up getting sub $15 on some of these titles that are worth $30 or $40, which is awesome.
So here's this one. So this one, it has an IPS screen. Does it come with any games? Has an IPS, it works.
Or does
new
it
battery,
come with
AA batteries. The game is not included. Okay, they're just showcasing it for the.
Oh, just for the thing.
It opened it in a new window. So
in a new tab. Yeah, so that's like, oh wait.
I hate that. And then this one, 80 Neo. Oh, so this one, Neo Geo Pocket tested. Oh, check this out. Let's see if this works.
Ooh.
Did it jump to? Yeah, so a StreamYard, at the top, I could click a button that said share this tab instead.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so that's what you have to do. So here's one. Ooh, look at that. Maple
That's kind of
Blue.
cool.
Look, 36 minutes on it. It's only
Yeah,
only an
85 bucks.
85.
I mean, it's still not bad.
No, let's see what they said in the description. Oh, it's the Japanese version. I don't think that thing is region locked.
I don't think so either.
I kept it carefully after. Happy doing business with you. Thanks for watching. 3 to 7 days.
When USA.
Yeah,
These
I know. There's not really
Japanese
much of a description, but yeah.
Japanese
Seller
import.
assumes responsibility for this listing. There really isn't one, but still. And look, though, you get the booklet in the box.
Hmm.
That's always neat. And so check this out. If I go switch to this one, so it just I've never used, acting like I never used StreamYard. So that's neat for the tab. You can here's one tested battery 150. Oh wow, they put like a ton of pictures. Like, see, that looks clean. That looks very clean. I guess that's the only other thing you have to worry about is making sure that the battery in there doesn't corroded.
Hmm.
Only one watch. When does that end? 149. And what's their description? Items may have some cosmetic, kind of handheld system. Okay, it's just the console. Very clean.
Yeah.
Photos are what you will actually receive. Ooh, they shouldn't. But see here. But I would be like, but does that mean I get that game?
Oh, both card frames clash. These are.
Ooh, like this one is like, ooh. See, check this out.
There's too many doubles for 99 bucks. What's up?
This one right now, it's at 62, 5 days to go, and it comes with Sonic.
Oh, that's not bad.
Oh,
I mean,
you
if you
get
keep-
wow.
if you
And you
can
get
keep around-
case.
Yeah, the case is neat. Yeah, I'm looking at game lots right now. There's one that has the Japanese imports. It's all
Here,
the-
here. Why don't you
Yeah.
why don't you
I'll
go
share it
ahead
up.
and share? Yeah.
Alright, cool. So let me go here.
Oh, I just noted. 30 days with this. Oh, what did y'all get on Black Friday? Steam sales, Steam games.
Yeah, well, so that was the other thing that I wanted to say. Like, I went to a store. So, like, here's the story time, right? I 100% for 19 years I worked in retail. So I know what it's like. I know what Black Friday looks like. I know what it's supposed to look like. I know it's like all the madness. I know it's been nearly 10 years since the 19 years I've spent in retail. But it's all you've seen one Black Friday, you've seen them all until this year. I went into Walmart at 10:30 a.m. on Black Friday. All right, I went out, get an oil change, coming back, walked into Walmart, and I'm like, where is everybody? Like, it was busy, but it wasn't like Black Friday busy. It was just like kind of like normal busy. I had just I wanted to get a salad and a couple things, and then that was it. But I went to go look for the bins, right? Walmart, Best Buy, Target, they all have these giant media bins, right? It's just a cardboard box, basically. It's a half pallet or a pallet, and it's just filled with DVDs and CDs and movies or whatever, and games. Switch, PS4, Xbox One, usually, right? And then they got the little stickers on them. They'll say promo, and then based on which color of the sticker it is, it's either this one is a $35 game, or this one's $25, or this one's 10 or 15 or whatever, right?
Right.
Dude, I searched the entire store. Not one of them had any of the movie stuff.
Wow.
At all. I went to 2 different stores. None. Zero movies. Nothing.
No DVD bins. Huh.
No DVD bins. Nothing.
Blu-ray.
And I was like,
weird.
that's weird. And then I'm like, all right, fine. Well, what about the games? I found one quarter pallet at an end cap that had like a handful of games. And I was like, man, it is absolutely insane. Yet
Yeah, it's a Brian F. Yeah.
Exactly. But that's where all the stuff was. Everything was online. And yeah, I mean, maybe the economy's an issue too, but still, like, you figure on the day of the sale, they try to bulk up just so they can get a little pad the sales a little bit, right? So, like 20, 30, transactions an hour of these, like throwaway games. It's still money in the tills. And what the story wound up being was, I mean, is this the turning point now? Like, are we not going to see this in the store anymore? Is everything just going to be online? You just got to catch it, like we're doing here on eBay. We're just looking around, and you'd be like, "Oh, I see the price," and click, and there you go. Because conversely, what did we get on Black Friday? I wound up going to 3 different digital storefronts and getting stuff. I got stuff on the Atari VCS sale. Because on Atari VCS they had their Black Friday sale. And I picked up Space Grunts because I didn't get it yet, and I'm glad I waited because now I got it for like $7 off, at like $7 or $8.99 or whatever. So that's good. I got Super Monkey Ball, Banana Blitz on Nintendo Switch for the kids for $15. So it's normally $40. That's a good deal.
I love that name.
Yeah. Oh, Banana Blitz. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a fun game, and they have like one of those Chuck E. Cheese versions of Super Monkey Ball at Chuck E. Cheese, and the kids love it. Because you have this giant ball that you roll around, to control the character, which is neat. I mean, obviously controls are going to be completely different on the Switch, but my youngest just loves to see the monkey falling off of all of the levels. So
oh, you know what? I forgot. The Steam Deck has gyro too, so I forgot if there's any games that can take advantage. That is cool.
Like a little gyroscope action. That'd be kind of cool.
But you know what? You do bring up a great point, because I can remember, again, this is maybe like 10 years ago. Like when I remember for Black Friday, I was looking to get my daughter a Nobby, which is like a tablet for kids, and that place was it was insane. And yeah, you know what? I blame Amazon and Cyber Monday, because you're right, Rich. All that stuff is slowly moving online.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was insane. And then the last place that I went was actually Home Depot. I went physically to the store to get it, but it was the deal that I got for the fire pit. But had I gone to the store, I would have never seen it, because that particular item wasn't even on the sales floor. They had it in the back of the warehouse, and only people that were online that clicked order this now got it. They didn't have a floor model. They didn't have any presence on the floor. I was like, this is weird. Like, all of this is really, really weird. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It absolutely could be supply constraints, Brian. Absolutely. And you never know. Like, who knows? Maybe next year it's completely different. The bins are back, and now they're overloaded because they didn't sell enough. On doing the online stuff, and then we'll be swimming in deals next year. Who knows? It was just a weird time, and getting out of the store. Everywhere I went, when I went to Home Depot, there's only 3 or 4 people online, and it was already kind of busy. This is the day before Thanksgiving, but still, there was only 3 or 4 people in line. And when I went to Walmart, again, it's in the middle of the day on Black Friday.
Yeah.
And I walked up to the register, the self-checkout registers, and there were 2 people in front of me. And I just walked in, boom, boom, I'm out. Oh, and I picked up a Roku Premiere because it was $20. And you never know when your other Roku or your Apple TV or whatever conks out and you need to do whatever. Plus, I watch all that the GAA Go stuff, the Gaelic hurling and Gaelic football, and the GAA Go app is only on Roku. They didn't make one for Apple TV yet, which disappoints me, because I have my Apple TV is on the primary television in the house, and it's like, just put the app on there. I'm gonna get my Gaelic hurling on in the off season, because they start their stuff around February, so it's like perfect. Football ends, Gaelic hurling begins, and then when it ends, it seems it ends in July with the championships. They just roll right back into football. It's great. It's great times. Anyway, enough sports talk. But
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
but yeah, I mean, so these are, you got to watch out for these deals though on this eBay thing. Here's an 11 game lot for this is 119.95. Buy it now, which is actually like not bad. Let's see what games it is. You got Japanese Falsei, but the thing is
click the button to switch that window so we can see.
You got to switch to the
yeah, and the upper top. Yeah, the tab that you're on, there's that button in the upper top where it says use this tab instead.
Share this tab instead. Yep.
I wonder if that's new. I mean, I love. Yeah. Oh wow.
That's a cool feature.
I know, right?
So you've got all these things in here, and then there's, I think, Puzzle Link is the only one that's actually the American. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, everything's giving.
TV's hassle.
But yeah, Battle Link or Puzzle Link is the only one that's the actual like US version, right? So all these other ones are Japan region only, and like Falsei, okay, cool, you can get the Japanese version for like pennies. It doesn't matter, but it's all in Japanese, and you won't want that.
It's not region locked though, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you know what's cool about that lot too? You get the cases.
Yeah. Well, most of the lots they always, for whatever reasons, them and a lot of Game Gear lots on eBay, you get a lot of collectors that keep those plastic cases, which is awesome, because
why
you're basically dust covering. So
you know why I wonder, because you don't see them as much. I think maybe because like those consoles were more owned by older like adults.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of younger kid, maybe they took better care. I don't know. That's
yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's kind of wild. So anyway, yeah, it was basically a small time story, but that was the Black Friday story for me.
No, that was great. Yeah, my Black. Yeah. We didn't really go, anywhere
much.
Yeah. There was really not. I think, and other stuff that we needed, it was just like online. I mean, Black Friday sale started like a week ago. It's either like digital stuff or other.
Yeah.
So okay, dude, that's hilarious. No, actually, no. So this is, if you've heard of the company Red Hat, they make Red Hat Linux.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I got that like years ago. Like I have what is it, like the Red Hat Certified Administrator? Like I think I had like, it's like 6.5 and like 8. I haven't renewed it because like VMware and everything has taken off. But yeah, we went through the training, like they gave us that. But yeah, kind of like Steam Deck is on Linux.
Yeah.
So that was, but that's funny. That does look like Carmen San Diego. Like totally. Like, if you're not familiar. Yeah, that's awesome. My Carmen San Diego hat. That's really. No, that's really cool. I mean, I'm sure that's what I need, like a Steam OS hat. That'd be cool.
Oh, that's cool. Brian got aftermarket plastic cases for the artwork and a lot of the Game Gear games. That's cool. That's neat.
You know what? I trying to remember, but I know like Metal Jesus advertises a lot, where there's somebody on Etsy where like if you want to just hold like a loose cart, like it's like a reproduction case that's just the size of the cart,
right?
And then you can like, I mean, for something like he is like, I don't know if it can fit manuals, which might not, but it's like if you want to have a game, like just like stack a bunch of them and you have like a lot of games that you want to protect them. So there's stuff like that. I thought it was cool. Like I guess if you're into Switch, like somebody on Etsy, like they make like these little like switches about the size of a keychain. Like they like, but like you could like just put in the game just to hold it like with or without a keychain. Like, so yeah, Etsy is awesome for retro stuff. Like you can find a niche and find the stuff that that you want there for sure. But yeah, I'm bummed that there's not like a Neo Geo Pocket. See, and that would be the route where I would like turn to emulation. Because I'm like, you know what? I can't buy. There's nothing that I could buy. There's no other device. What can I,
Yeah.
To play like the, but then again, that's something where I'm not just going to throw every single game on there. I'm just going to throw like a few of those ones. Like I'd be curious. Like I'd be curious to see like how close the Neo Geo Pocket version of Pac-Man is to the arcade. I've heard it's pretty good. From what I've seen, it looks like pretty good.
Yeah, I never got a chance to play that one because I had a friend that got a couple games with me when I got mine back in the day, and I think he had Pac-Man. and a couple of the other stuff that I wasn't into at the time, and now I'm like, oh man, wish I actually just bought him from him because I think he just traded him away somewhere. It's like, oh man, I wish I
would have
bought
gone
this.
to a good home.
Right? Exactly. But yeah. So yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah, I think that's it though. Like 2 hours. That's a banger of a show.
Oh wow.
Going
Dude,
on.
this flew by. We know we
Really
made it
did.
up to everybody. Well, there was a lot to talk. I mean, I had a lot to say
That's
about
true.
that and a lot to talk
Yeah.
about. And
Absolutely. But I will indeed turn into a pumpkin if I don't go to sleep soon. You got a busy day tomorrow.
oh
So-
yeah, and you're an hour ahead of me. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome hanging. Thanks for hanging out with us and chatting and everything. We're gonna have, another couple weeks go by. We'll be back in action. Probably on our regular night. Because I think we'll be ready to rock there. And then of course we got to talk about it because like next show would be around December 8th, which makes the next show the 22nd, was like directly before the holidays. So we'll have to see what happens there. So, but thanks guys. Yeah, I mean it's always great hanging with you guys. So
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, like at the 8th will be like our might be our last show for the year, or if we might squeeze in another. All right,
we'll
see
what happens.
Yeah, it's flown by. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wasn't even like really looking, and then all of a sudden I'm like, that definitely says live 2 hours. I'm like, wow. So, but awesome guys. Well, thanks again so much, and we'll be catching you soon. So,
Heck yeah.
all right, with that, see you guys later.
Calling all retro gamers.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.